Hello, hola, bonjour. Tune in every Tuesday to the Dear God podcast.
¿Y qué pasó?
Nah, we talking like it's 1995. Let go of that Wi-Fi. Let's laugh and cry, but never say goodbye. Primos y Primas, que lo que, and welcome, bienvenidos to the Dear God, Are We There Yet podcast con tu prima favorita. Soy Alicia Sanchez, and yes, this podcast is bilingual. Ahora, Dear God, in this context for my movement is whatever or whomever you want it to be. I always have to say this little intro because it can be the universe, religious God, Buddha, self, nature, lo que sea. This space is for everyone. Dear God, Are We There Yet is a lifestyle community of question seekers. The goal is simple: to empower thought-provoking conversation, share happiness, and encourage each of us to never stop asking questions and having conversations that matter. The power of helping people help people with one conversation at a time. Why? Because we need it. Our friends need it, our families need it, and the world needs it. Ya tú sabes. And don't forget to check out the YouTube channel where I talk about self-growth, budgets, and business, and the passion to empower. Ahora vamos a hablar like it's 1995. I have a special guest for you guys, and I'm super excited because I have been looking on her website and I've been looking at all her successes, and I'm like, oh my God, so many of you listeners are going to feel inspired and you're just going to feel motivated and you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to write a book tomorrow. So let me stop talking and introduce to you Ally Nathaniel. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so super excited.
Oh, thank you. And I want you to tell everybody a little bit about you. I know a lot about you because I've seen some of your interviews on Medium, but I want you to tell the world a little bit about who you are and what you spark.
Sure. So I'll start by saying that I help spiritual women become leaders in their field by publishing a book. And that means that I help women kind of hone their stories, find the story that can influence others and that can change the world, and create a book out of it. And that's how I changed the world, basically, by helping others do what I did for myself. So I'll take a few steps back and tell you that 12 years ago, I moved to the U.S. from Israel. With two young children, and my daughter, my third child, was born here in the U.S. Mm-hmm. And that sparked a journey where I started my business. I'm actually a pastry chef, so I was teaching cooking. Yeah. So I was teaching baking and cooking classes for kids and parents, and I wanted to write a book. So back then, I knew nothing about the publishing industry, but I figured out that I need to write a query letter, which means write a letter to explain about my book, where I want to go with it, and send it out to agents. Just to get rejection letters one after the other. I sent out probably 100 letters or so. And, that was very discouraging at that point of my life, just to get rejected over and over again, just because I didn't have enough followers on Twitter and Facebook, and I didn't have a mailing list back then. So I did what I do every time that I, bumped into an obstacle. I ask the universe, and I love how you say that God is everything you want it to be, because it doesn't really matter how you call it, but as long as you understand that there's something that's bigger than just us, and that all the answers are already out there and also inside you. You just need to connect with that power. So I asked, okay, what should I do next? And somehow, because that's how the universe works, I found out that I can self-publish the book. And then I wrote a children's book about my daughter, who was 5 back then, Sparkly Me. That's the name of the book. And it became a number one bestseller on Amazon. I sold over 40,000 copies and topped Amazon for 16 weeks.
Wow.
Yes. And that was the beginning of my journey. It's like the universe told me, yes, that's what you need to do. Keep writing.
Keep writing.
So, yeah, exactly. So since then, I've published over 15 books of my own, and people started to ask me, how did you do that? And today, I'm a publisher, and I help women not only publish their books, but write their books and edit their books and give them like a one-stop shop where they don't need to worry about anything. I guide them. I hold their hand. So that's, the shorter version of what I do today.
That's amazing. And I love how you say that, because I know that as an author myself, and I'm actually struggling with that right now. I self-published my first book, and I'm trying to kind of find another route for the book, because it's a series, and the whole Dear God, Are We There Yet is a bigger movement than just, that, which is putting your voice, and the best way to putting your voice is, of course, with a book. And I love that. But I want to ask you this, because you're a mom and you wear different hats. And why do you think that women are afraid of success? Because there's so many people out there that want to do this. They either want to write a book, they want to start a podcast, they want to do. Why do you think that? Because there's such a high rate. And when you ask someone and they're like, I'm afraid, I'm scared. Why do you think they're scared of success?
Okay, first of all, that's a great question. And most people say, I'm afraid to fail. But being afraid of failure or success is actually exactly the same. It's the other side of the same coin. And, I can talk hours about why women do stuff. And I think when it comes to success, most of us, and I'm not going to say all of us, but most of us are trained not to show ourselves, not to be too big. I'm sure people who are listening now, or women who are listening now, heard things like, be pretty and be quiet, or maybe be pretty and shut up. Basically, you don't need to say anything. As long as you're pretty, that's all you need. And the message beneath that is that, you don't need to be successful. You don't need to be big in this world. Find a man who will take care of you, like all the Disney princesses. Find someone who will take care of you, solve all your problems, and you just stay quiet. And even if you have big ideas, big thoughts, big things that you want to achieve, that's not your place. That's not the place to be for you. So those hidden messages are very, very strong. And most of us are not even aware that they exist, especially because we live in a world where everything is possible for us. At least on the surface. So everything is possible. But when we come to actually achieve things, or, let me go back to my corporate days. I worked in Amdocs. That was a big company in Israel, 7,000 employees in Israel, and they have more employees here in the U.S. And it was kind of like playing by their rules, and there was no room for creativity, and you have to be where you are. And when you go into staff meetings, and Amdocs is not the only company. I hear that everywhere. And you have an idea and you say it, people might look at you and say, okay, and no one will, do anything about this idea. But then a man can say the same thing 2 minutes later, and everyone, oh, wow, that's actually a great idea, and let's move forward with it. So we get all those messages and we get confused. Because
and which makes us... go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So we get confused. And the way I look at it, where we get stuck in life is where we are confused. We're not sure which road to take, or we're not really clear about how can it be that we're so smart and so powerful, but yet we're not where we want to be or need to be at that point of our life. And the way I look at it, my perspective is that it's confusion.
Yes. And I see here, I like that you said it's confusion. And then I want to circle back to when you started, and not having, you had a message, you had a powerful message, you had great experiences, but because you didn't have a gazillion Twitter followers or Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And I think that's a frustration that I have sometimes because, if I sit with one-on-one or I'm speaking to college students and stuff, and they're like, they have all this great energy and they have all these great stories and experiences or even people. And I'm like, we are being judged, women especially are being judged, that if they want to speak their voice, it's not valued right now in social media because they don't have X amount of Twitters or they're not showing all their their lady parts, or they're not sexy enough or whatever the case is. And what would you say to women that are having that struggle right now, that they have a voice and maybe they don't have 1 million followers, but they have, a tribe that appreciates them and grows them? And what would you say to them as far as to grow their likability in a world where it's masked based on a number count?
Yeah. So I would say, first of all, know that your voice matters. And know that your story matters because everyone has a story of a struggle of some kind. So know that it matters, and whatever you experience and whatever you came up with, the solution can help others. And I think that the confusion for us in today's world is that we see all those massive businesses or coaches with, hundreds of thousands of followers. And we feel that unless we have that amount of followers, we can't start a movement. We can't, spark a change. And it's a journey that I'm going through as well. And those are questions that I'm asking myself. And lately the answer that came to me, because, I asked the universe, I asked God, like, what's going on? Like, how can it really make a difference? And the answer that came to me is start small, which means connect to people. It doesn't matter if you affect one person. And there's a saying in Hebrew that if you changed one person, you change the world. So always keep that in mind. We don't have to have hundreds of thousands or millions of followers. You can start a small group of 2-3 people in your house, whatever movement you want to start. And then you can grow to 6 people and 10 and 100, and maybe one day you'll have millions. But we can't start big. That's not how things work. Think about a seed. You put it in the ground. It's tiny. It doesn't even look like it has any potential. And then you water it and it grows and suddenly you have a tree. So keep that in mind. Starting small is okay. And I think we need to remind that to ourselves on a daily basis, that even if you get one person to your workshop or 3 people, it's fine. That's the change.
Yeah, it's quality versus quantity, and I'm just going to translate. Para la gente que están oyendo, no importa no importa la cantidad de la gente que están en Instagram o Twitter o Facebook, lo que sea, es la calidad y la conexión que ustedes tienen. Eso es la voz que ustedes tienen, no importa si alguien tiene la teta afuera y haciendo lo que sea, y tú dices, ay Dios, pero lo que yo quiero hablar es más importante. Olvídense de la otra gente. Don't worry about what other people are doing, and the quality is always going to be over the quantity because it's that connection. And I have to totally agree with you, Ally, because I think that is the misconception that we're living in, and there are people that are making their movements very strong, and that's that. It's not about the numbers. It's not about being so-called, like, in school where you're like the popular person, you know what I mean? It's more about those connections. I want to ask you, because you have the kids books, and I love children, and I saw that you have Fabulous Me, which is the volume 1 for Sparkling Me. And I want to know, what made you decide to go into the children's realm with your books? Because this is very powerful, because these limiting beliefs or these monologues that we tell ourselves start from a very young age. So what made you decide to go into the kids realm of books?
So first of all, I've been always super passionate about children's literature. I bought children's books before I had children. I kept my, my books as a child. I kept to carry them to my adult life. So I always felt that children's books have very powerful messages. And let me give you an example. It's a book, Dr. Seuss book that not too many people know, Yertle the Turtle. And there are 3 stories there. And that was my favorite book when I was a child. The messages are so powerful. But on the other hand, I felt like there were not enough good messages for girls. All the heroes were boys. All the adventures, most of them, boys took risks, and it was about boys. And I never had figured that I could identify with. And I know today we have more of that because more women feel the same. And we wish that we had those messages when we were younger. So we create those messages in different forms. For me, those are books. But I really want to raise my daughter knowing that it doesn't matter what she does, she's amazing and she's great and she's going to be loved. And she doesn't have to be special in any way, just to be meaningful. And this is in that series, Sparkly Me. So I have Sparkly Me, Fabulous Me, and Dancing with the Sun, which is actually free. The ebook is free on Amazon, because I want more girls to get the message that, do what you love and be who you are, and everything is going to be fine. So, and I really think that when you get, the earlier you get those messages, the better.
Exactly, because that way you start to, especially in this time where we are, it's not, I always say this, to my wife, I always say, like, when we were raised, we were going outside, or, now everything is, it's reflecting what we see online, where we go on YouTube, what we see in magazines, of what we supposedly, and times are changing, so what we're supposedly supposed to be, or how we're supposed to look. But I love this for all my moms listening. El libro se llama Dancing with the Sun, and it's a girl's empowerment and self-esteem, volume 3. You can get it on Amazon. I'm going to have the link below, and I'm also going to have the other books, because I think this is amazing how you have several books in the same genre, and it's all around Fabulous Me, Sparkly Me. So I will have that. I want to ask you, if there was one thing for women that are listening right now, it could be moms, entrepreneurs, college goers, what is the one thing you would say for them to do today to stop being afraid of using their voice, either at the workplace, of getting, for them probably wanting more money, or for them to start their entrepreneurship, or they're in school to stand up for something that they believe in? What's one thing they can do today to make that happen, or to start the journey of making that happen?
So I'll say something that you probably did not expect me to say, but this is also something that is major in my life. Get a listening partner. And what I mean by that is find someone, could be one person, or better to have more, that you can exchange listening time. And I'm actually about to publish a book about it, The Emotional Business IQ. But it's about finding someone who can listen to you without interrupting you. And once you're being listened in that way, you'll know that you have all the answers. And that's going to give you the energy and the courage to speak up and to go out and do things that you wouldn't do otherwise because you're too scared. And actually, having a listening partner, that's what enabled me to do all those big things, to publish a book, because publishing a book, as you know, is one of the most scary things ever. You put your thinking out there, you open yourself to criticism, and it's terrifying. So for me, that was my safe space. I have this friend, and I could work on all that fear that comes up and notice that it's only fear, and the fear is very, very old, and it is based on my early childhood experiences of being ridiculed for showing myself and for speaking up, etc. So I was able to use that time. And by the way, I use this time. I try to activate the emotions that are attached to that experience. Let's say I was ridiculed when I was younger. I was chubby. I looked like a boy. I was ridiculed. I was bullied. And there's a lot of emotional charge attached to that. So during that listening time, I would cry a lot. And I might laugh or I might hit pillows, but I just get rid of that emotional charge. And once I work on that early experience and discharge that emotional charge, I'm able to look at the present I get a different perspective. And I can move forward and say, oh, that's just a fear. And I'm an adult now, and I can do that. And even if people will laugh at me, it doesn't mean anything. My voice matters anyway. So
you're accepting it. You're accepting that emotion and that feeling, and then you're digging deep out of it.
Yes, exactly. So the emotion is part of the journey, and using your natural healing mechanism, which is to cry, laugh, tremble, get mad, whatever it is, you just let it out, and you're able to look at present time like your glasses are cleaner right now because you're not affected by those earlier experiences. So know that your voice matters, and know that you can make a difference, and take one step at a time. Those can be small steps, but you still, as long as you move forward, that's great.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to ask you one last question about if you could go back in time, like let's just say 5 or 10 years, and tell your past self anything about the future, what would it be?
Ooh, I wish I could be like a fortune teller right now and tell myself something about the future now. But I would say, don't worry so much. Don't waste energy on worrying, because it's not going to change anything. Just be, and things will work out for you, because they always have. So just don't worry.
Don't worry. Just be happy. Don't worry. I want to thank you so much, Ally, for being on our show. So everyone, I want you to go ahead and check her out. It's allynathaniel.com. All the information